Hello and welcome to Professor Pincushion. I'm Tova and today I'm going to show you how to create roses using ribbon embroidery. There is no sweeter embellishment than ribbon embroidery. I'll show you how to make different types of roses so you can add variety to your current project. Grab an embroidery hoop, ribbon, and needle and let's get started. For this demonstration, I'm going to be using silk ribbon, and it's a 1/4 inch in width, about 6 millimeters. And I've tried doing this with the regular cheap polyester satin ribbon, and it's definitely harder to use than the silk ribbon, so this is definitely the preference. Now you need to make sure that you use the correct size needle when you do this. So here's my needle. It's a chenille needle, and for this size ribbon, the 1/4 inch, I like using the size 18 needle. If you use a smaller ribbon, such as a 4 millimeter ribbon, then you're going to want to use a size 22. So if you're having trouble pulling your ribbon through your fabric, chances are you don't have a big enough needle. I cut the end of my ribbon at an angle, so it definitely makes it easier to put it onto the eye of the needle like this. And the length of my ribbon is about 12-13 inches long. So instead of just having it like this, like we do with embroidery floss, what you're going to want to do is, after you pull it through your needle, you're going to take the end of the needle and you're going to pierce the end of your ribbon, like that. And then I'm going to hold the end of the ribbon and I'm going to pull this through. And you can see it flattens out like this. And then after I flatten it out, I'm going to bring this part, this little part here, and I'm going to bring it up to the eye of the needle so that it all lays flat like this. So that's going to keep your ribbon in place so it doesn't come off your needle as you're pulling it through the fabric. And you may notice the end of your ribbon fraying a little bit. That's perfectly normal. Now to do a knot at the end, I'm just going to do a soft knot here by doing a quilter's knot. I'm going to take the other end of my ribbon, I'm going to lay it against my needle like this, and then I'm going to wrap it around 3 times. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to pinch it with my finger where I wrapped it around, and I'm going to bring it through. Just pull this all the way to the end until you end up with a knot, just like that. And now we can get started. You can do your ribbon embroidery on any fabric that's woven as long as the weave is not too open and loose. So you can do it on a silk, you can do it on a satin. I'm going to just do it on a plain cotton here. And it's definitely easier if the fabric is stretched, so I'm going to put it in an embroidery hoop. I'm going to start with a very simple rose, which is the French knot. So I'm going to come up from wrong side to right side, so we're looking at the right side. I'm going to pull this all the way through. All right, so you can see my ribbon here. All I'm going to do is take my needle, I'm going to lay it on top of the ribbon like this, and I'm going to wrap it. Now you can do a single wrap, or I actually like doing a double wrap because I think it makes it look more interesting. You can also do 3 wraps if you want. Now you don't want it to be too loose like this, but you don't want it to be too tight because it definitely, I think, makes it harder if it's too tight. Now I'm going to put it back into the fabric, but not in the same hole. I'm just going right next to it. And I'm still holding this with my left hand, you can see, so it doesn't get too loose. And I'm just going to pull it back through my fabric again. And once I get close, I can let go with my left hand, pull it all the way through, and there you go. So that's just a simple flower. I'll do it again. I'll do one right next to it. Pull this through. I'm going to lay my needle on top, wrap around a couple of times. So I'll do 2 again. I'm going to put it back down near my last hole. I'm still holding with my left hand as I pull it through. And sometimes it's really hard to get it through. There it goes. And then I let go eventually, and there's another one. Once you perfect that, then you can do a variation rose. So I'm going to put my next one about right there. Pull it through. Now normally when we do a French knot, I'm starting here near the base and then I'm wrapping it. This time I'm going to start a little higher up. So I'd say probably about an inch and a quarter, an inch and a half. And I'm just going to wrap it once this time around. You can do a couple if you want. And then I'm going to do a running stitch going back towards the base where it's coming out, but I'm going to do it in sort of a zigzag fashion. So I'm taking my first stitch here on this edge, then I'm going to the opposite edge, and I'm coming up. Then I'm going to go to the opposite edge of that, go down, and then the opposite of that, go back up. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And then my last stitch, I'm going to go back to the opposite, and then I'm going to go down into my fabric near where my other hole was, and I'm going to pull it all the way through. And there's a new rose, and it's just a little bit bigger than the last one. Next, we're going to do a rose that's even bigger than the last two. Now this is called a Spiderweb Rose, and to prep it, I'm going to draw a circle where I want my rose to be, and then from the center of that circle, I'm going to draw some lines coming out. Now I did 5 lines. You can do more, you can do less, but just make sure that it's an odd number. I think 5 is a good place to start. Then I'm going to grab some embroidery floss on my embroidery needle, and it's best if you use a thread that actually matches your ribbon so it doesn't stand out as much. I'm just going to go ahead and use this contrasting one so you can see what I'm doing. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to follow along the straight lines in the center. So I'm going to do 5 stitches with my embroidery floss. And then you can go ahead and tie a knot on the back with your embroidery floss and cut that off because we won't need it anymore. So you should have something like this. So my blue embroidery floss is just going on the straight edges. Now I'm going to grab my ribbon and my needle, and I'm going to come up near the center, and in the center I'm going to do a French knot. So I'm just going at the base again. I'm going to wrap it around once. I'm going to go down near where my stitch came out, and I'm going to pull this through. Okay, so now I have a French knot. So now I'm going to come up near the center again, and I'm going to be using my embroidery thread to help create this. So once it's all the way up, it seems like it is. Okay, so I'm just going to start here. You can really start anywhere you want. I'm going to go under, I'm going to go over, so I'm just taking turns. So I'm going to go under this first one, over the next one. And this is definitely easier if you can rotate your hoop as you go. So since I went over this one, I'm going to go under this one. I'm going to go over the next one. I went over this one, so now I'm going under. And so every single time you make a complete circle, you're going to be doing the opposite of what you did previously. So that's all you need to do is just go over, under, over, under. So now under, over, and you're just going to keep going around and around. Now you see, because I used the blue, it's going to show a little bit as it's going under. That's why you want to use a matching one. At this point, I've gone around quite a few times, and you can see my rose is looking pretty nice and full here. You really want to stop when you can't see the edges of the embroidery floss any longer. So you want to fill it up as much as you can. I need to stop now because I'm running out of ribbon on my thread or on my needle. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my last stitch and come all the way to the wrong side and bring this all the way through. To finish off my stitch, basically to create a knot, I'm actually just going to take my needle and put it through a nearby ribbon. So I'm just piercing it. And I actually like to do this a couple of times. So I'm going to come back through and pierce it again, not in the same spot, but in a different spot. And go through it, and then you can just cut it. You don't want to leave a long ribbon strand, but you don't want to make it too short either. So I'm just going to cut this maybe right here, and there you go. Just as a bonus, I'm going to show you how to do a single petal or a leaf. So I'm going to come up to the right side, just kind of flatten this out best you can. And then I'm going to pierce it, but I'm not going to lay it flat and tight like this, just a little bit loose to where I want the end of the petal or the leaf to be. And I'm just piercing. You could do the center, or you can do kind of off to the side, depending on which direction you want the end to go. Bring this through and just gently pull it. Don't pull it too tight. And there you have just a single petal or a single leaf. Now when you finish any stitches, you're just going to tie it off like I previously showed you, and that's how you do ribbon roses. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please subscribe to get notified of our weekly releases. Also check out ProfessorPincushion.com to view our complete library with well over 350 sewing tutorials. If you would like to directly support us, you can check out our Patreon campaign and earn some exclusive perks. Thanks for watching.